Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to this reaction review of WandaVision Episode 2. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it, but let's be honest, everyone's already watched it, so why should I even tell you to go see? You probably already have. And I thought about a few things after the first episode when I did that reaction review. I'm actually going to split this up into different topics. Like, the first topic that I'm going to address for this episode is, what is this episode parodying? Because each episode of this show, more or less, is a reference to another popular sitcom of a decade. And this one, lo and behold, it's Bewitched. Yes, the internet got it right. Good job, ladies and gentlemen. You got it right this time. You got it right. It's not the Honeymooners Dick Van Dyke Show controversy anymore. You got it right. It's Bewitched. Good job, internet. You got one right. Good job. I'm so proud of you. That's sarcasm, but they did do a good job with figuring out. Good job, honestly. But anyway, it's kind of clear cut, the fact that it is Bewitched, because I don't know a lot of other sitcoms, especially 1960s sitcoms, which is what this episode is supposed to be parodying anyway. I don't know many 1960s sitcoms that has this little opening animation where people fly all over the place. That's Bewitched. Also, in reference to Bewitched, this set of the house is very reminiscent of the Bewitched house, which is pretty remarkable, actually. My mom actually watched this with her, and she was like, oh my gosh, that is the Bewitched set. She was so surprised about that. So, I thought that was a pretty interesting Easter egg there. As for plots of Bewitched, I don't think it's in reference to an episode of Bewitched. I could be wrong. I haven't seen Bewitched in a while, so maybe that's nothing's really triggering it for me. But I'm pretty sure that the Bewitched actual series had something like this sometime. I would be highly surprised if they didn't have something very, very similar to this. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are in that age in the 1960s where more people of color, African Americans, and other people were getting more representation, but not necessarily the greatest representation, I guess. And I'm not bashing the show. That's history. I mean, you want to get as close as you can to the original source material without, hurting anybody. Which, let me talk about this, okay? Herb, great addition, okay? He seems very genuine. I don't know. So we haven't seen a lot of him yet, but I'm kind of drawn to him. I kind of like this guy. Sort of a tolerable, no-nonsense kind of guy. He's just like, whatever. I'm just going to let this happen. I like his personality. It's very, very good. Also, we get a character introduction, Geraldine. She's a great actress, okay? Let me tell you something. There's a lot of charisma coming from her in this episode. We don't see a lot of her yet, but apparently, according to sources, even before this episode aired, she is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who is Monica Rambeau. So those things were kind of, reports that came out before this episode, so yeah. But anyway, knowing that she's going to have a bigger role in this series going forward, she does have a lot of charisma, and I can't wait to see what else she's going to do later down the road. Also, there are some jokes and references to communism, which is a huge 1960s American thing, where people are like, oh, you're a communist, and everyone's just like, oh my gosh, what? Blaze of glory. But yeah, I don't know. That's one of the few corny jokes that I actually did get a laugh at. Not just, little smile or whatever. But that was actually really good. Good job there, Marvel. Good job, writers. You did a good job there. I see you. You did a good job there. All right, on to our second segment. Let's talk about the story and plots. Now, along with the bewitchedness of this episode, we also get a little bit of Pleasantville-ness in here, where we get like this colorful helicopter with the sword logo that's red and yellow, wherein it's black and white in this show. How peculiar. Interesting. In this episode, Wanda and Vision are doing like this magic show to benefit the children, even though through this episode we don't see any children anywhere. We hear a lot of them, and we hear the cult chanting for the children, but we don't see any children, which is also, again, very, very interesting. In fact, the closest thing we actually see to a child is when Wanda absorbs her pregnancy, I guess. Don't really know how to explain it, but she just all of a sudden becomes pregnant, like already in her third trimester after like a few seconds or something. But yeah, that's the closest thing we see to a kid. And this might be a reference to her wanting kids in real life with Vision and all that because of love. Also, we see Vision kind of wanting to do something with the community watch or whatever and eating some gum and acting all drunk because the gum is lodged in his circuits or whatever, gears. And Wanda having to, cover it up by using some like ropes or mirrors or whatever. And it's cute. It's cute, it's whatever. But then the big things come in. These big two key plot points come in where Wanda and Vision see this beekeeper come out of the sewer, and Wanda's like, hell no, and rewinds it all. And they're like, what? What the heck? How the hell did she do that? Why did she do that? Who's the beekeeper? And as preluded to the whole thing, in the beginning, we see the entire world come together in color. Just like a wave, if you will. A wave of beautiful, spectacular color. And they kind of notice it, and it's like, oh, it's really pretty. And then they end with the hexagon shape again. Oh, and also one key plot points. The Randall Park, a.k.a. Johnny Woo, in the MCU, that was a FBI agent in Ant-Man and the Wasp. His voice can be heard through a radio, and Wanda's seen it and is like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden they just like click right back to it or whatever, and then everything just keeps on going. Creepy, Twilight Zone-esque, if you will. Also, we get this commercial, which is pretty reminiscent of the 1960s commercials, in which the same guy and woman from the first commercial from the first episode, they're back in this one, and this time they're talking about Strucker watches, which is from Hydra. And Strucker is the guy who experimented on Wanda and her brother Petrov, aka Quicksilver. And oh boy, there's a lot of plot. Let me say what I like about this episode, in which this new segment, what I like about this show. Let's talk about it, shall we? Again, Elizabeth Olsen, fantastic job. She get an Emmy. I mean, she brings it in this episode. There's something sinister kind of going in there bubbling underneath the surface of this character. And we're like, is she in charge of everything, or who is pulling the strings behind this episode and this whole show for that matter? Vision, Paul Bettany, fantastic as well. I mean, I'm basically repeating what I'm saying in the previous episode. They're fantastic, okay? What more can I say? Give them the Emmys. Just give them the Emmys, why don't you? Kathryn Hahn's fantastic as well. I mean, basically repeating everything. The thing is, though, they put more of an emphasis on her. In the first episode, she was kind of like this, oh yeah, this neighbor figure or whatever. But something's kind of stuck out to me and possibly the entire world when they actually analyzed this episode, especially in the intro. Everyone in the intro, when the intro ends, everyone except for Wanda and Vision are outside. But Kathryn Hahn is coming out of like the bedroom. So there's emphasis that she might have more to play in this world and with Wanda than we might think. Also, she's got the brooch on that she got from episode 1. She's still wearing that thing when every other costume is completely different and completely changed from the previous episode. All the characters come from the previous episode. Everything's different. All except Kathryn Hahn's brooch. Very, very interesting. And let's dive into this new segment that I'm going to call Things I Don't Like. There's one thing I don't like about this episode. It's very, very nitpicky, but I don't know. It has to be said. People are going to like hurt me for this. I don't care. It's my own personal opinion. Take it or leave it. Here it is. And maybe it's because I'm a sitcom purist, but if you're going to make a parody of Bewitched and you're going to make like an episode of a Bewitched series or inspired by a Bewitched series, there's got to be a few less camera cuts. And I get why Marvel did this. They did this because they have this thing where they like overshoot everything and they get it in basically every camera angle they can for good reason. I get that. If I was directing, I would probably get every camera angle I could to maximize profit and maximize time. But what I remember from Bewitched was there wasn't a lot of camera cuts. Like in episode 1 of WandaVision, that is exactly how the Dick Van Dyke Show was shot. It's like big, wide angles and all that. Not a whole lot of close-ups or anything, but just like maybe a camera 1, camera 2, and camera 3 at the most. Or even more like a single camera thing where they just like get a wide, get camera shot to the left, camera shot to the right, and then bada bing, bada boom, that's done. Here it's a lot more artistically pleasing, and while I did like it, it's not the same as the Bewitched series. The Bewitched series kind of invoked similar things, but maybe just a tad bit closer to Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore or whatever. Then you would get basically Bewitched. This one was a little bit too cinematic, I would say. It's just a nitpick. I still love the episode. If I had to rate it, I would give it an A+, but that's the one thing that I was like, okay, that's a little too much there. Maybe just pull back a little bit. But anyway, fantastic episode. What did you guys think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why the heck would you hate it? This show is amazing. Comment and subscribe and let me know what you guys think of it. How do you think the show will end? Comment, let me know. Subscribe, ring that bell. More content coming your way. More episodes and reaction reviews coming your way about this show. And hey, take care, everybody.